I'm Brian.
And this is R&B Talks.
Come get some. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The madness.
We're excited today.
Lots to talk about today.
We are excited today.
Lots to talk about. It's not fantastically early in the morning, so Reggie is not struggling to stay awake. You know, we might have to do it a little later more often, Reggie, because you're a little bit more spry when it's a little later in the day.
Okay, well, and I've had a lot of coffee this morning, and I've had a Monster this morning, and I'm totally juiced up.
So in other words, your heart rate is jacked.
It probably is, man.
It's probably like 110 steady.
Oh, yeah. I mean, really dumb.
No. Just another week of madness in the world, Reggie. Well, how's your mind this week? Is your mind okay? Is it blown?
No.
Okay.
Let's just make one thing abundantly clear.
Okay.
If anybody is surprised by what has happened this week,
if you didn't
you've
see
been
it
living
coming,
in a rock,
If you're surprised, you might be an alien from another planet, because I don't know anybody that is.
Now, granted, this is because this comes from us who thinks the political spectrum is a circus, and we don't really look at that as the end all be all.
Yeah.
We find it more entertaining than anything. And also, you should find us entertaining as well. We're not professional anything about any. We're just normal dudes talking about stuff because we like to talk and we find ourselves funny.
Yeah. We find ourselves very amusing.
So if you do, great. Hey, but take our advice and do what you please, as to patent a phrase that this old guy that I used to sell furniture with in Volume City used to say. Richard, miss you, man. Oh, by the way, I must be a Nazi if I did that, by the way.
Of course you are.
That whole thing.
Don't ever wave like this, or you're going to prison for Nazism.
I mean, okay, look, I've done this before too. When I was more of a jump on the bandwagon type of guy, I probably would have said, he's a Nazi kind of stuff. But once you get over yourself and you get over a lot of care what people think and stuff, and you realize you're smart and that you can make informed decisions, you realize that 99% of the stuff you see about anything is
utter garbage.
Utter garbage, and it's propaganda.
It is a giant.
And so the whole Elon Musk and his Nazi salute thing was just so stupid. Like, it was in once again, context.
Well, here's what I think,
Come
Reggie.
on, people.
And I might have said this before, but here's what I think. CNN and NBC, MSNBC, and all those places, for whatever reason, Fox's ratings are through the roof. I get it. They're sensationalist just like anybody else, and for whatever reason, their ratings are through the roof. But CNN and MSNBC are in hot dumpster water right now, and they are grasping at anything and everything that they can possibly get their hands on. It's very telling when the guy in charge at CNN goes to everybody in a meeting and says, "Hey guys, let's not beat up on Trump." And then the first thing they do is go out and just start to try to carve the guy up, right? It's so sad. But that's one of the things I told somebody this week. I was having a conversation and I was like, they were like, "I can't believe it." I was like, "Really? You can't believe it?" Like, really?
What can't you believe?
At this point, I don't understand. I can't believe they're still saying it. I can. They're desperate. When you're desperate, you'll do a whole lot of things that'll shock all people. It's not surprising at all that the hard left is just screaming for something to grab hold of, because they are literally sliding down the hill, right? So, but anyway, Reggie, our president got busy with some executive orders this week.
Bro,
first of all, you got to give the guy credit, Reggie, because he sat there while signing executive orders, showed everybody his executive orders, and then took questions, which the former president of the United States refused to do because he was incapable. So first of all, I appreciated that, him being willing to have the press there and answer questions while discussing his many executive orders, which, most of them I don't have a problem with. I think the only one he's going to run into an issue with is the birthright citizenship thing.
Well, he's already okay. This one, and I don't even okay. I get it. I get what he's trying to do here.
Yeah, I do too.
But I mean, that's pretty. I really just don't think that's really a major issue to really worry about right now. Now I get that that's tied to some other things, and again, I'm not in immigration or anything like that, so I have no idea really the scope of this. But I'm just saying, like, if I'm looking at this from my perspective, more time could be spent on other things than this. I really just don't care.
Well, here's why he's drilling down so tight on it, and I'll tell you why. And it's flamingly obvious why it's happening. Okay, so the Democratic Party is at the weakest it's been in many, many, many years. They don't have a worthwhile candidate to run for president in the next term. It's going to take them more than 4 years to recover from the damage they've done. Trump made a lot of promises on the campaign trail, and he's trying to hold to those promises because what he's trying to do is put J.D. Vance in the right position to run after he's out and to become president.
Which I said. I said on the show.
But I think the thing that won for Vance was, Vance's boldness will get him the presidency. And the reason I say that is he put a great example of it out there when Hegseth was affirmed. He was the tie-breaking vote. And without a split second of hesitancy, he put Hegseth in that position, which, thank God, we have a guy who knows our military out there in charge of it, right out there ahead of the game. But I think Trump is well aware that he won on a lot of promises, and whether he's able to fulfill them or not, he's going to chase them.
No, I get, and I mean, again, he has there's no third term here.
Yeah. No, so, not unless something really goes sideways.
Yeah, but I mean, and there's always talk about, they're trying to get to where Trump can get a third term or some nonsense, but no, that is like I consider that to be just a fairy tale and like not even close to being. Well, I mean, stupid.
That's one of those things you don't discuss because there's nothing to discuss about it. No. Right now, if they were trying to pass some kind of constitutional resolution or something like that, and there was a fight going on in Congress and the Senate, okay, I'll have that conversation. But right now, it's a fairy tale by hard right wingers.
It's 2025. So you have social media nonsense rolling nonstop, right?
Although I do have to say, I am still feeding on the tears of lefties melting down, first about Trump and then watching them melt down about TikTok. Dude, like there was a guy on there. The funniest thing I've ever seen, and this was a random video that popped up, but I've never laughed so hard. Reggie, never laughed so hard in my life.
Okay.
He's a radio host in Florida is who he was. Yeah. And this girl calls in and she apparently had a TikTok account that she claimed on the show she was making $7,000 a month off this TikTok account, right? She was an influencer. She wouldn't give her name. The reason she wouldn't give her name is she said, I'm afraid that they'll come after me. Never prognosticating about who they were. I'm assuming she thought it was Trump or whoever. And she started literally squalling about having to get up in the morning and go to work and how it was going to ruin her getting to watch The View every day and her getting to make her videos when she was at her peak of the day. And the guy who was the radio host was a conservative radio host, and he is idiot laughing while this girl is talking, like in her ear, like not even like putting the mic on mute. Mean, like why would you? Falling out. And I'm falling out because she's literally, I can't see her, but she's literally screaming into the phone that she's on.
You can just picture her.
And I'm just literally like, how broken is your generation that the idea of having to work an 8-hour day is too much for you? I bet you if I told you could do an 8-hour day of martinis and pedicures, you'd be first in line.
Okay. Which brings me to this whole thing about this, where the leftists are pushing everything is fear. Everything is fear. You're going to get round up. You're going to get, he's going to start terminating this, and blah, blah, blah. It's always fear that you get. And it's from the right too. But here, what we're talking about is this whole thing, whether it's DEI initiatives or whether it's, TikTok or whatever, and we'll get to don't worry, Bishop Mariann.
Yeah, we're gonna get to you,
Bishop. We're getting to you.
We're gonna get to you and your garbage.
But but it's always fear, and here's a great example of that. Right? It was I have this guy I play video games with in our Discord server and I talk to these guys every freaking night, so it's like I know him more than I know most people, even if I've never met him before. And he works remote and has been working remote for a while, but not always. He wasn't hired to be that way, by the way, for the federal government at some base or something that he goes and does something with something. And this whole federal thing with the DEI thing, he lost his mind. Was like, now I got to go in the office. It's going to cost me more money, blah, blah, blah.
Wah.
And I get what he's saying, and there could be absolutely no reason for him to go into the office or do whatever he needs to do because he can do his job from remote and it, yeah. I totally understand this. And I've been working remote since 2008 exclusive, actually longer than that, but let's just say my current role has been remote since 2008.
Yeah.
And that includes travel and everything else, but I don't report to an office. Okay, so if somebody said tomorrow, hey, you got to start going into the office, I'd be like, man, dang. But
you do it.
I do it. And it really wouldn't, it wouldn't bother me that much because I'm a professional. And like I don't know. Anyway, so I guess what I'm saying here is you'll be fine. Go to work and just do your job. And it'll all work out.
I have nothing against remote work. My wife has been remote since COVID, and she's now having to get back out into the workplace. She's never complained. She's actually grateful for being able to get out and be in the world and start to kind of come out again. But if remote work is what the job is, okay, I don't care.
But if you were hired,
but if you were working at a job and they went remote because of an emergency, and then now the remote is over and you have to go back to work, shut up.
No, I get it.
I don't, man. But I've never been the guy that wants to be quarantined off. Like, I want to have the freedom to move about. So for me, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed COVID. I was off for 3 months. Man, that's the most relaxing 3 months of my life. No,
it was not.
It actually was.
I know it was, but you were.
Actually, I wasn't for those 3 months. When we first moved over here, dude, I
remember this because it was before you decided to
become a trainer. It was before I became a trainer. That 3 months was beautiful, dude. Like, I got to hang out with my kids, be with my wife. I got to, do stuff that I couldn't do before. It was just, I get the allure of not having to go into work, man. I get it. Like, I don't want to sound like a ogre.
I wish I had a hybrid solution. Yeah. To be honest, I do. I don't. But I know what it means. I know it costs money. I know it's time and everything else, dude. I totally get it, and I don't mind that I don't blame you for being upset, but you got to take into consideration everything else that's going on in the federal government. Like, it's rampant with stuff. This. Everyone knows that the government is out of control, and you got to do something.
But here's something else that I'm going to say. When it's a federal government job, I don't want you to have remote access to federal government documents in your home 24/7. I don't want it. I want that to be a controlled environment because I want that has to do on some level with national security. I don't want you piping that stuff into your home computer. I don't care if they've got a program on there where they can watch you. There are too many smart hackers and too many people that can do stupid stuff or will try stupid stuff. That needs to be under supervision. I'm sorry, but I don't trust somebody with anything federal in their home. And let's go back to Hillary Clinton going back and deleting all of those emails because she had servers in her home. No, ma'am. That is a violation. You should have been jailed for that. That is, and I'm not just picking on Hillary Clinton. Anyone, if you're deleting anything federal, if you're hiding anything, if you're involved in any of that, you need to go to jail. That's not good. So if you're like remote working for, Microsoft and you're basically doing the basics, okay, but if you're doing anything federal, dude, that needs to be secure. You need to be out of the house.
Well, most of the time they do that. That's not. Most of the time you're working on stuff. It's not housed at your home anyway. It's on a server somewhere else. But
yeah, but I still feel like that's an open door.
Here's the thing. This is also part of that DEI removal of that. And I actually saw this great Instagram reel from, I think his name was Quentin. I think it was, maybe it wasn't. But
what up, Quentin? He
was a black, it's like the Instagram page was Quentin Black Conservative or something, right? I don't, gave a great little rant on the DEI stuff because basically what he's saying, and it's true. Like none of the discriminatory laws that are in place are taken away. I mean, they're still there. They still exist. Like it's still illegal for somebody to hire or fire you because of race, religion, sex, blah, blah, blah. All that's still like legitimate, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, none of that's gone away or whatever.
Yeah, it's not going away either.
No,
like it shouldn't go away.
No,
they shouldn't have the ability to discriminate against you because of your race, sex, or color.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll put a link to his little. It's a short Instagram reel if you want to watch it, but it was pretty good. Now, I'm chomping at the bit.
Yeah, you're a little wound up about this, I got to say.
Yeah.
Like I already know what you were going. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I won't even say the title because I do not recognize a female bishop. Let me just say this really clear, and I don't care if you tell me I'm a sexist pig. I do not recognize a female pastor or female bishop. That is completely not biblical. Let me say that again. It is completely not biblical. I do not care what you think. I really care what God thinks, and that's what he wrote down in his freaking book. Got it? Got it. Okay. Now, old Mariann here decides, and let me just say this. She is not, the Episcopalian denomination has been I mean, I've full on relegated that to demonic worship anyway, a long time ago.
Yeah, it's not.
And it's always, now, and here's what I'm going to do too. I'm going to put a link to the full sermon that she gave because it's hard to find. But the National Church has a YouTube channel, and it was actually the full thing is on there. So I'm going to put that down there so everybody can watch the full thing.
Also, if you go to the Guardian website, they posted a manuscript of the entire.
They got a transcript, right?
Of it, yeah, okay. Or a transcript of it. So
here's the thing. It's not like you. I know what. Here's what happens with you get leftist propaganda is there's certain keywords that pop up and they're used for reasons. And we've already talked about propaganda before, but let me just say this: repeating the same word over and over again is to elicit an emotional connection to you and what you think. Her entire sermon was propaganda. Let me just, that was all propaganda driven. It's not that I disagree about being unified. I disagree about what being unified on. You can't just say unity. You have to say unity in what? If you're in unity to, as far as criminal activity and you're unified by that, that's not cool. You should not be unified on criminal activity.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like just spouting out unity does not do anything. You have to be unified in something. What she should have said, unified on God's direction and path for humanity. Unified in the gospel of Christ, not just unified because of all the people and all this stuff and her mercy, this whole stupid thing about mercy. No, that it's not just mercy. We have mercy, but there's also justice. And if you don't bring in the conversation about what actually is sinful or not, you can't just say mercy for everybody and have a blanket thing. It's not up to us.
It's not our decision.
We don't control this.
My whole thing for her was this. I mean, I'm going to read a little excerpt of this that just bugs me. And I'm
I almost know about heart, by the way. So
well, let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. As you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families who fear for their lives.
no.
Okay. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in our poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shift in hospitals. They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you for 1 second. Does anybody realize how pompous that freaking sounds?
Like
This,
yeah.
You just called out and said illegal immigrants do our dirty work for us.
Well, here let me also say
Are you
this.
flipping kidding
and
me?
this is not only does she say that pompous, but she finishes it with a little bit of an insult.
I get that,
to
yeah,
the faith,
I
which
know.
is they are good neighbors. They pay taxes. They are faithful members of our churches, mosques, and synagogues, gurdwara, and temples. All right, let me break this down how I feel about this real quick because I'm gonna get this on the table. First and foremost, I'm really, really sick and tired of the left attacking immigrants, any immigrant, and calling them field hands and dishwashers. And you guys are so, I'm going to say this and it's going to hurt. You guys are so full of shit. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that you take anyone who works hard and you pigeonhole them into being dishwashers and picking our fields and washing our laundry and our dishes. That tells me that you are the most insincere, repugnantly revolting, imperialist asshats I've ever met in my life. Like, I can't believe you would say that. Like, and here's why I say that. I know men who are Hispanic, who own businesses, who are entrepreneurs, but do you want to know what they are more than anything? They are not illegal immigrants. They are legal immigrants. Number two, you are a bishop for a quote unquote Christian church. First off, I'm not even going to get into the conversation about whether you need to be a bishop or not. And I lay that not on the fact that you're a woman. I lay that on the fact that you are obviously not foundationally grounded in anything Christian.
No, the fact that she's a woman already disqualifies. The rest of the stuff just puts,
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about your garbage stance on where the church stands.
Yeah.
You don't speak for the entirety of the church, and you shouldn't because you're not qualified. Number two, for you to stand inside of a church of God, as you would call it, and talk about to take care of the people in the synagogues and the mosques and the, you're a sensationalist, and that's why you did this. You didn't do this because you felt this way. You're a hard lefty hiding behind a religious Halloween costume, and I rebuke everything that you are about because you are anti everything biblical, and you are the worst example of what a Christian should be, and for that you get the sorry.
Well, and also too perpetuating fear.
Yeah,
of a situation that has there's no fear involved. There's nothing happening to anybody.
Nobody's kicking down people's doors and killing transgender kids. Are you drunk?
But she is blatantly not even talking about the numerous murders and violent assaults that were from illegal immigrants that have done tremendous and horrendous things, including cartel members and stuff like that, who have been brutal against people. Is she going to speak to their daughters who have been raped and stuff by these illegal guys and talk about this? No. Is she going to talk about their children that have been mutilated by the leftist ideology because of some stupid Marxist philosophical nonsense? No. That's the thing. She is completely, I cannot state enough how this kind of crap blows me away. And if there's, I'm going to be even more pointed. If you are a Bible reading Jesus freak, crossback, whatever you want to call it, and you look at this woman as a Christ like example, you are wrong. And it is, I rebuke you. How about that? I rebuke this stupid woman. I rebuke you who follow this stupid woman, and I rebuke the media who follow any of this nonsense. You're all rebuked.
You've been rebuked.
You've been rebuked.
You're rebuked.
Rebuked.
Here's my thing, guys. Here's my thing.
It fires me up.
You know, God is a loving God, but he's also a vengeful and a jealous God. And this woman's going to have to answer for the things that she said that literally you will not find wholly anywhere in the Bible. Like none of the things that she spouted up there will you find any biblical basis for.
But there's a way to talk about these things from a gospel-centered perspective.
Yeah, and she did not.
How you do that? Here's how you know what it's. And I'm telling you, it's so easy. If what you're talking about, you point back to the cross, you point back to Jesus, you point back to his work, his life, his death, his resurrection. If everything you talk about points back to him, you're doing it correctly. If whatever you're talking about points to an ideology that is political, you are doing it wrong, no matter what that is. Okay. Your sermon about anything, if it's classified as a sermon, if you are in the ministry of anything, it should always point back to Christ.
Well, and let's be clear, like to be clear, like I do not agree. Like I read through all of the executive orders, and there are a lot of them that he wrote out, but I got online and I read through them. There's a lot of them I don't agree with. Like I don't. So this is not a Trump loving thing. This isn't. This is a
Christ loving thing.
This is a Christ loving thing. And if you love God and if you are a godly person, you are not going to politicize what you do in any way. I do not want to carry my faith into a political arena. Now, don't get me wrong. What I will say is this. There are many politicians that I know of that are good politicians that are faith-centered. But if you're living a faith-centered life, you don't need to drag it in. It's just going to be there. You're going to make decisions based on your moral compass. This wasn't a morally compassed thing that she spoke. This was a very political and sensationalized and gilded and guised attack on Trump and his first month in office.
Like it does nothing. It does nothing.
This is a sensationalist who took an opportunity to get on the national stage amongst all the other, and I'm going to say it, left and hard right-wing lunatics out there right now that are stomping their feet. And this was a chance for her to get her 15 minutes of fame. Well, congratulations, Mariann. You got your 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, you are now a heretic.
But this 15 minutes of fame is going to cost you something eternally. Yeah,
well, I'm not going to belabor this point. I've already been passionate enough about this. I can't fathom how somebody could be completely disconnected from what the gospel message is and sit up there and talk about stuff like this, or blatantly be a propagandist in such a stupid way.
Or what's worse?
But at the prayer service after the inauguration, which you have this huge platform for, and you just annihilated your chance of ever doing anything with it ever again.
Yeah. Or at least being followed by anybody who's genuine in faith.
And then Trump. Now, what do you think? Trump's ever going to go back to this Episcopalian church?
No.
The national church? You know what he's going to do? He's going to change he's going, nope, this is no longer our national church. He's going to change it. What do you think he's going to do? This is what you've done. You've completely eradicated your position.
Yeah, you've done what every hard leftist have done up to this point, which is the reason why Trump got elected. You got up there and you grandstanded, and now you're screwed.
Yeah. All right. So look, we feel strongly about that one.
Yeah,
and there's for some people that I've lost a lot of respect for, who said some things about this whole stuff, especially. There's one woman who I don't think I respect her anymore, who said, if you don't like what Bishop, quote unquote, Mariann said, then you don't know Christ. And that really torqued me off. And I didn't respond.
You are drunk.
I didn't respond. She's also into like the systematic racism and BLM and all that stuff.
You probably go, so you probably, You want to know you want to tell you what a fun game is, Reggie? I found this game out the other day having a conversation with a Christian who was giving me all the left points for their life. I asked this person, I said, dude, that's awesome. It's like, what verse are you backing that up with? And they went stone silent because they didn't have a verse. You can't, this goes back to that whole conversation we had about truth. If we can just say whatever and it's the truth, I'm the king of Spain. Where's my crown?
Yeah. And the whole, also unity, mercy. Well, what's the truth? Where is the truth in that?
Yeah.
Right. You have to have an objective truth, which means God's truth, by the way, about these things in order to understand them and apply them. You can't just have a blanket statement like that.
Yeah. Like you're going to have to come with some evidentiary backing for me to want to even, and I had this conversation with someone today, and in this conversation, I told them, I said, we were talking about our kids, and, I have a 16-year-old son. It's going to be 17 in a few days. And, my kids are really good Christian kids. They love God. They know their Bible. I'm proud of both of them. They're very good conservative kids. We have lost our ability to discern between truth and madness. And that is the scariest thing I feel like is going on in our society right now, is this inability to discern between truth and madness. I'll use the comment that was made that I responded to on one of our channels. You didn't bring any truth. You just brought madness to the comment. Like there's no, and then for somebody to be like, well, God loves everybody. Well, that's true. Okay. But that doesn't mean everyone's saved, right? Like, I love how we think that we can just vomit this stuff up and people are lining up to accept it without going, well, I don't know anything about the Bible. I don't know anything about Christ, but this person is just saying that God should love everybody. So I'm just going to say they're right. God does love us all. We are all created in the image of Christ.
But you got to put this in perspective and context. God is reaching out for every single human that he created, and for them to come to him, come back to him, to his truth, to the actual reality of his existence, right?
That's right. That's
the ultimate universe reality, is the one that he runs and exists in, that he governs, and that it's his way and everything else. So he is seeking everyone to come to that reality, that truth. If you don't, he goes, it blatantly says this, you're for or against him. If you're against him, it's not that he looks at you with hatred or anything.
No, he just doesn't look at you.
You will be actioned upon with his wrath. I mean, that's what it says. Now, that could be in this life or the next, but there is a cost for your disobedience and your, how would I put it? Your usurpation. I'll say that of
Good word. Usurpation.
Yeah. Your usurpation of his authority.
You're usurpatory.
And this is what really cracks me up about the atheists, especially, man. They want to talk to you about Jesus, but they have no idea who he is. I get this all the time. They try to argue stuff about Jesus and say, oh, these leftists are correct. And usually it is a leftist thing, by the way. How can you do this or whatever? That's not what he said. You don't know what he said because you refuse to know what he said. Why don't you figure that out and then come back to me?
There are very few conservative atheists that I've ever run into. Yeah. Right.
All right. So anyway, I want to move on to this because I think the pardons are kind of something to talk about a little bit, dude. Yeah. And not that I disagree with pardoning the pro-life activists or the January 6ers or all this stuff. But I still think these pardons are like a slap in the face of the rule of law. But when the rule of law is running in the Wild West and going nuts in this chaos, what else do you do? So I'm kind of on the fence about this. And I'll tell you what stirred this up. Albert Mohler, I follow him on a couple of different platforms because he's a prominent, very smart scholarship guy of the theological, if you don't know, Southern Baptist Seminary guy and all that kind of stuff. Very bright guy. I've heard him speak many times. I've talked to him in person and through a couple conferences that they had over in the Southern Baptist Seminary, which isn't very far from here.
Yeah.
Anyway, But I don't agree with him about everything. He's very Baptist, by the way.
He's super Baptist.
So there's some legalism that I get a little torqued up about with Albert. But anyway, Dr. Mueller's a great guy. Anyway, he put it on his Instagram thing. He had a thing about the pardons. He mentioned about how, regardless if it's Biden or Trump, the pardons it's just being like a slap in the face of the rule of law. And I get that. But what's the consequence? What do you do besides that, right? You got to fix the rule of law, but you have people who are under this chaotic, corrupt law that they've been judged by that really they're not criminals, you know? So what else do you do but have a presidential pardon, you know? Your thoughts, Brian. Back to you.
Honestly, I'm going to be truthful with you. I struggle with this, and here's why I struggle with it. I believe that there should be veto power on certain pardons. And the reason I say that is, first off, we talked about this earlier, preemptive pardons. There's no such thing.
Okay. That would torch me up. Yes.
You can't preemptively pardon something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
That was a blatant move by Biden to cover up everything he did wrong in his presidency. That was a blatant move for him to not take responsibility for the terrible direction his presidency went in.
And primarily the Russian-Ukraine thing.
Yeah.
You're talking about 11 years of that stuff.
No, Fauci.
Well, Fauci too. Fauci,
Dude,
oh
like
my God.
if Fauci didn't break any laws, why'd you pardon him?
Yeah.
Why? Because Trump was going to go after him? Well, if he didn't break any laws, he didn't have anything to worry about. Like, I don't understand the whole, well, Trump was going to go after him. Well, I stand on my innocence. If I'm innocent, come after me. Prove me guilty, right? But he also pardoned child rapists, that were found guilty child rapists. He had over 8,000 pardons. Now, if anybody's wondering what President Biden did in the last 3 months of his presidency, that's what he did, is sat in his, swimming pool in his living room with his rubber ducky and his teddy bear and wrote pardons for 3 months, because I would probably be completely honest in saying that he is probably not the one that wrote those pardons.
Oh, no.
They were probably written for him and they were signed by him because he didn't have enough common sense to do anything about what was going on. Now, if you want to pardon somebody because, hey, you know what? Maybe there was evidence that came that proved that their crime wasn't as bad as it seemed to be, or maybe they were innocent. Absolutely, dude. Pardon away. There are so many people locked up right now based on bad charges because there was no DNA at the time. Sure, go back to those cases and help those people. Pardon them. But when you have proven child rapists and Fauci, who's basically a millionaire sucking off of the blood, sweat, and tears of the Americans that pay taxes, with which he managed to ruin a generation. Congratulations, Dr. Fauci. You ruined a generation of people with your mandates. If you want your son, Biden, whether you love it or not, is a criminal, it's proven that he was involved in criminal activity. It's proven that you were involved in criminal activity. Sorry about my bad luck. I'm going to say it. What are you going to do?
How old is Hunter Biden, by the way?
I have no idea, man.
And he is 50s or something.
I don't know.
40s or 50s, right? I mean, he's a grown ass, like not just an
adult. He's not 12.
You know what I mean?
Right?
He's not like in his early 20s.
He's got to be in his 40s.
Okay.
If not in his 50s.
Right. So, I mean, at that point, if the dude does something now, I don't know how I'd be with that. I mean, like, I get wanting to protect your son. I'm not going to fault the guy for that, really.
But
what I do think though is like, you can't the preemptive pardons are a joke. I mean, I don't even know how that's legal. Matter of fact, I've read a couple different places where it says it's really not anything because a pardon is for something that's already been a
pardon is to pardon an already committed act of criminality.
So
not a imagined maybe it could happen. And it's not like he didn't already have the inability to not be sued or have financial liability after everything. Fauci and all the rest of Big Pharma were completely released from any liability. So, okay, so if somebody finds you guilty, what are they going to do? Nothing.
Yeah. So, The one thing to add to this whole pardon discussion is the reporting on it. Like, I just want to make something abundantly clear how blatant that has gone to being different. I'll put a link in here about from that shows like and explains the wording of the New York Times between the two. Yeah, that should illuminate some. This is what propaganda does. It uses word choices and inflections on things and stuff to make one sound this way, make another sound this way.
You're not saying it puts the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable, are you there, Reginald?
I would say syllable is the correct word.
There you go. Right on.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. Like, look, so this whole toxic mix of pardons really kicked into gear when Obama was in office. And then, Trump carried it on in his first term. Like, 1,700 pardons. Come on, bro. Like, you were just, I'm going to say it. At one point, you were just groin kicking people because you were mad. Obama was, Trump was.
Yeah, they all do that.
And then Biden.
Yeah.
Bro, here's what I honestly think happened. Everybody who had something they did wrong went to Biden and was like, "Can I get a pardon?" And he pardoned them.
Yeah.
Good for you. I don't know, man. To me, I think there needs to be a limit. I don't
really know the answer to that.
I think there needs to be a limit to that power in the sense that, if somebody's committed a crime, they need to be prosecuted for that crime.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that's anybody. That's under Trump, that's under a Biden, that's under any president in history that gave a pardon to someone who committed a crime just to keep them from paying consequences. Dude, it's the most anti-justice thing on the planet.
I mean, like I said, there's a call for a pardon. I think there's good uses of it. I think because of the way we have this slanted view of the justice system, it's been a little weird. Not weird, but it's just been justice chaos, in other words, and you can hardly call it justice anymore. So I don't really have an opinion about the current. I know I wouldn't the preemptive stuff. I have a definite opinion about that, but. In Trump's case, I just don't know what you would do to get rid of some of the wrongful justice actions, Well,
no offense, but a great example, and I'm going to use Trump as a great example. Trump could have pardoned himself for everything that he was dealing with when he left his presidency, but he didn't. And he fought and he won because he believed in his innocence and believed in the fact that he hadn't committed a crime. Whether you agree with that statement or not is not the point. The point is the man went chest up into it and fought for his freedom, with which Biden has not at all attempted to fight for his freedom. He took the easy way out.
Yeah.
He took the easy way out for his family. One of the things, and I do want to say this, one of the things I'm really noticing in this Trump administration in its first week or two is a lot of people that were lefties before this election aren't anymore, because you can say a lot of things about Donald Trump, and I could sit here and read off 5 pages of this man's faults. It's not hard to find.
Or just go find some idiot social media post that has this diatribe of stuff that's illegitimate, by the way.
But the man does what he says he's going to do. And our economy is already showing signs of improvement. He's already putting things in place to make America energy independent again. He's already putting things in place to put other countries in their place. He's pulled out of the World Health Organization, which was the smartest thing he could have done.
And the Paris Accord.
And he pulled out of the Paris Accord. Very, very smart decisions, which are going to have huge positive financial impacts for our country. So say what you want about his attitude. I don't like his attitude. He's smug. His ego is huge.
I don't care about that, to be fair. I don't.
But I'm just saying, on a personal level, I'm not a fan of the dude. But a lot of left-leaning people have come back to the side of, or come back to the center, because they're like, well, I can say a lot about him, but everything he said he's going to do, he's doing. Which Biden did nothing that he said he promised his election campaign.
Okay.
Even when the left had the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they couldn't get a stinking thing done. Congratulations. I mean, the guy's not the greatest guy in the world, but he's doing the job, right? And I think people are seeing that.
So, I want to talk a little bit about like what do we think? This is only week one of the Trump presidency.
Yeah,
and you have all these. I think the executive order, but there's also been some like bills thrown and already. Right. I mean, that's unprecedented.
I think he had some things written before he got in.
Oh, no doubt. Right.
Yeah.
I think he had, and obviously he had the Republican congressmen and women sitting there working on stuff before he even got in there, so that when he did, there was all these, these bills and stuff. So, I mean, there's been a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's, for me, that's promising. At least there's going to be some things working and actively being done.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a very like good subject of a kingdom, I'm not. I'm a very skeptical, very critical, and
so you wouldn't make a great North Korean.
No.
Okay.
And an analytical person. So, I mean, for me, I'm still, my guard's still up, guys. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's not like
I'm so torched by the last 4 years and the fact that my taxes have increased, my paycheck has shrunk, that I'm still in a defensive position against our government. Even though I think we've made some good choices and we elected the right individual out of the two, I'm just like you, Reggie. I'm very jaded when it comes to what our government does. I'm hoping that this is everything it has the potential to be, but I'm not betting on it.
I just know God's providential hand is in everything. And I mean, that's the way I look at it. And that's the way I looked at the Biden presidency. It's like, this is for a reason. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Now you could say, I mean, there was times where I'm like, well, I guess this is ushering in his return. It's getting worse. It's going to get worse, blah, blah, blah. But you don't know. And I mean, I just have faith that everything's going to work out the way it is.
Well, and I think the thing about it is the things that you and I talk about are not necessarily opinions. We base what we talk about in a lot of research. And, I got attacked the other day by somebody they were saying, well, you don't have any proof. And I was like, contrary to popular belief, I can back everything I say. Like I actually did the research in order to have the opinion. Right. So, I don't know, man, I'm very skeptical just because he's only got 4 years, man. He's only got one term to make a lot of change, and I'm hoping that he can do it. I'm sure there will be some positive change. I just have no idea how much.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see how the External Revenue Service switches things around. I hope it abolishes the internal. Yeah, I do. I really hope that goes away. I've been a proponent of abolishing the Internal Revenue Service since I was like intelligent enough to know why.
Yeah.
The whole Fed and the interest rates I mean, I am not a fan of the private institution of the Fed. I am not.
No.
But so I don't know. Well, I think if he's going to go farther with any of this stuff around the taxation and money and everything else, I think he's got to repeal a couple of the constitutional acts that were like before that. What was it? 1913 resolution for the creation of the Federal Reserve and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think he's got to, I think that's what eventually has to happen in order for the people to actually be in control of their freaking money again.
Well, I also think that he has the right idea with tariffs.
I do.
I think it's the right idea. Now, will it work? When we imposed tariffs, we were the richest country in the world. When we stopped, we became the brokiest country in the world.
I know, but my thing with that is that's a whole different era.
Well, but here's my thing. We can either sell our souls to every other country and have them do everything in us, or we can make this a place where we can develop our own technology and have our own. China doesn't sell American-made electronics.
No, but what I'm saying is like I want to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying not. I'm just saying I am looking at it like, how effective is that going to be in 2025 versus like, in the early 1900s, late 1800s,
I think you would be shocked at how effective
I'm sure it will be effective in some way.
Yeah.
All right. I know there's a difference in the global economy today that was now. What does that mean? Here's way I'm looking at it though. I think there's going to be some short-term hurt because once the imports start shrinking, the goods that we buy that are super cheap are probably going to be like not as available. So I don't think this is a 4-year thing, right? I think that you're going to have an ushering in of manufacturing in the country to start producing some of the goods that we get more from China, Taiwan, and all that stuff.
Or what will happen, and I'm hoping that this is actually what will happen. He will impose tariffs and China and Taiwan will quit ripping us off for what they sell us.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason an iPhone costs $1,500 is because of all the tariffs and taxes that we pay to get it here on top of what we pay.
I get it.
I think at this point, I don't necessarily want to stop buying stuff from China. I just want China and Taiwan and all these countries that are selling us stuff to treat us like good consumers.
Yeah.
Right now they treat us like complete and utter slaves to their product. Well, no, I don't want to be a slave to your product. I want a willing buyer and a willing seller is what I want.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. It's something different is okay with me, right? I mean, at this point, my tax burden is stupid. I don't like it at all.
The taxes right now.
Not just tax. Here's the thing, Brian. Here's what really irks me though. If I just paid an income tax, and that was the only tax I paid,
I'm good with that.
Like the whatever percentage it is. And even then I'm still, because I mean, having it eating more than like 5% is kind of dumb, but it's more than that. What I have a huge problem with, like, it's tax upon tax upon tax upon tax. Like I get my paycheck, it's taxed. I go buy something, it's taxed even further. If I use something, it's taxed.
I pay taxes every year on my house that I paid taxes for when I bought it.
Yes. That's what I mean. You're taxed upon tax upon tax upon tax.
Yeah.
So your dollar ends up being worth like 40 cents.
Yeah. Well, actually less than that if you really break it down.
That's the biggest problem I have is eliminate this nonsense.
And if you look at states that have gone to a flat tax, those states are booming. Florida, those states are economically exploding because there's no state income tax. It's just a flat products and goods taxes. I'd be okay with that. Take away my state garbage income taxes that don't get spent on what I get. I want them to get spent on anyway.
Yeah.
And do a flat tax and let me choose if I want to support, studying of indigenous two-toed, one-legged frogs, I'll give money to it. If I don't, I won't. Right? Like you look at all these garbage things that are being pushed into our tax bills, none of which benefit any of us.
So that reminds me of a topic as well especially in Indiana, where they're trying to pass something where tobacco sales are generationally, like if you're born after such and such, you cannot buy tobacco no matter how old you are. Right?
I don't know I've not heard anything about that.
Yeah.
Please educate me.
So they're trying to make it where it's not just a age thing anymore. It's you flat out cannot buy tobacco if you've born after this date, right? So like they're trying to eradicate tobacco.
Yeah.
Right. And I know that, look, we're going to have a whole episode on tobacco stuff because I hear a lot of people from the Christian community say, well, if you're a Christian, you shouldn't be smoking cigars and doing all this stuff and everything else.
Garbage.
And then you got you have to understand that these organizations like American Lung Association and stuff like that are very much a profit center.
Yeah.
And they push agendas I mean, it's not just clear cut where, because I'm going to stick with this. Jesus made wine. He created wine out of water.
Yeah.
He did that. If it was a sin to consume wine, he would have never created such a thing. That would be total hypocrisy. Okay. So how is wine or alcohol, if you want to broaden that a bit, different than any other substance? Now, I'm not saying there's not, measures here.
Yeah.
But it's just, I think it's legalistic and idiotic for somebody to really pinpoint tobacco for this stuff rather than, and don't look at alcohol or whatever, right? I just think it's idiotic.
Well, let's use another example. Alcohol companies are cutting jobs, especially in the bourbon industry, because of the onset of things like Delta 8 and Delta 9 THC purchasable products, which can you really blame them? You can buy 8 gummies in a package for $10. You take one gummy, you've got the same effect as if you drank a $75, $80 bottle of alcohol. I look, man,
we're going to talk about this in another episode.
Well, but it's hard for me because to take a legalistic stance, and here's why. Up until 9 months ago, I didn't smoke cigars. I tried my first cigar. I enjoy smoking a cigar from time to time. Like, it's relaxing. It's just sort of it's not something I want to do every day, but it's something I enjoy doing from time to time. It just relaxes me. It's something, the different flavors. There's all kinds of really cool things, really cool, backgrounds about it. And this is coming from a guy who was a ridiculously over the top health nut.
Yeah.
Still am a over the top health nut. Work out all the time. I love exercise, but you cannot live your entire life, like influencers tell you to do it on Instagram, where I never eat this, and you're lying. You're just lying. Stop lying to everybody. You're just a liar. I'll use this as an example. I went to the Arnold Classic one year, and I followed a bodybuilder at the time, Dexter Jackson. Love Dexter Jackson. Huge fan. The dude is the beast, right? Won a Mr. Olympia title. Is the ultimate in aesthetics and bodybuilding, in my opinion. Was the reason the Olympia was created. I watched him eat McDonald's double cheeseburgers after a competition. Like, he was two-fisting them.
Yeah, so I used to when I was working down in Kentucky for a consultation group, and one of the salespeople was a bodybuilder, and he competed, right?
Yeah.
And we hung out quite a bit because I would go to the gym with him and stuff. That's at the time when I was still working out a lot and everything else, right? And I remember him. It was funny how he was so strict with his diet and everything for a competition and all that stuff. He did all that, which was I still don't. I would never do what they do because it's terrible for your body.
Yeah, it does so much damage to your kidneys.
But they do that so they can alleviate as much water out of their system as possible, so that the definition is where it is, the veins are where they are. They do all that on purpose for the competitions.
Yeah,
and that's why I don't like the competition so much, because it encourages that type of dangerous activity. Because you can't. I don't know. You just can't do the way they do that. Anyway, so after he goes after a competition, he would just they would go to the buffet or something and just freaking chow down on everything.
Dude, even this, look at Lee Priest, who his bulks were epic. His bulks were not, he wasn't bulking with meth gator and protein powder and I ate 7. Dude would eat these giant 6 cheeseburger meals with French fries but all of you are out here just killing yourselves, right? Calories in, calories out, that's it. It doesn't matter.
No, and I remember the guy that's used to swim across the English Channel.
Yeah.
And if you saw him, you'd be like, what? And because he didn't look that in shape, because he had intentionally, now he kept his swimming and his workouts and all that stuff, but he would intentionally eat and put on fat so that he could have the reserves when he's swimming across the freaking
Absolutely.
Channel.
Absolutely.
And it's I guess that's where I'm at. And it's for me, dude, by the way, I'm so looking for this thaw so that I can get back out and do. I miss. I'm so. It's 2 months.
You
dude.
and I are going to start working out together with the tire because I'm gonna break you down with the tire, dude. That's so much fun.
I think you'd be surprised at what I can do with the tire.
I will. But think of this, Michael Phelps. You look at what Michael Phelps ate when he was training for the Olympics.
What was it, 15,000
like
calories?
15,000 calories a day. Nobody drinks 15,000 calories worth of protein shakes. Are you high?
Anyway, let's get back to this. Okay. So we'll talk about.
Sorry,
we'll have we're going to do an episode on like tobacco stuff later. Full on. We'll dive into it in depth a little bit. And just so let me make this statement too. We do research like a normal everyday guy can do research. And what I mean by that is like, we don't have the time to go to like Harvard Medical and read like all of the now sometimes I do, but like you really got to have a lot of time to dig into real studies about things in order to know about them in depth.
Yeah.
Okay. So normal everyday Joe, some of this, and you can find it on the internet, but you got to understand that real research revolves around actual academic studies and stuff. Okay?
Well, you also have to understand, and I think you and I are gifted with this a little bit, and some people aren't. And that's discernment between being able to snuff out what's real and what's sensational. When you start looking at articles online, I always, a great rule somebody told me is take the first 2 articles you see on Google and just completely throw them out because they're going to be paid sensational articles that were pushed to the top.
And headlines that are sensational and everything
else. Get to the bottom of the page because that's where you're going to find more of the factual studies.
And this is why independent media is more important now than ever.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and this is why I argue with people who say, oh, I only trust the professional journalism. But professional journalism has an agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to get the truth from an agenda-driven source.
Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, they're all agenda-driven. Like and none of them are actual news reporters anymore. They're all opinion reporters.
They all have scripts.
And don't get me wrong, I'm entertained by listening to some of them just because it's the ridiculous that they say.
God, yeah.
But, Jesse Waters is a great example. I like Jesse Waters as a person. I think he's a conservative. But most of what Jesse Waters says is very driven by his own agenda and his own beliefs. I don't really care about who believes what. I just want the facts. Give me the facts and then let me make the discernment from the facts.
Yeah.
If I can have the facts, I'm good. But Reggie's right. We both have full-time jobs and we both have existences beyond this. So we have to research around that. Doesn't mean we don't do our research, but it also sometimes we can do more research. Sometimes we can do less research. Well,
I mean,
right?
Okay. I'll be honest. Like, I'm really into this game Warframe right now. I'm really into it. I think it's freaking brilliant. You have to do it's huge. There's so much to do. So every night I'm playing Warframe, and I'm not going to. That's my time when I can like shove everything out. Because understand that I got a corporate job that drives me insane. I got a family of girls who are, I would never, ever want it any different. I don't miss, but it, they go to bed and all this stuff. And then I'm like, now I can have some my time. And so my time is spent, I'm going to play some Warframe or whatever it is, or Farming Simulator. I like that game too.
Farming Simulator.
Yeah. I mean, I need that release of my brain to go from, corporate manager, global guy to, dad to husband. And then it's just Reggie time. Right.
Yeah.
So, and mixed in with Reggie time is research, but that's the reality of what we live in. If my whole day job was research and topics and doing this and doing that, it would be different.
It would be different if this was our day job. Like we do this because we want to talk and have people hear us. If this were to ever become our day job, I don't know that I would complain, but
no, so here's the thing.
But the problem is we have lives and families and kids we're raising and, events we go to and
that's
all
why
kinds of things.
This is an entertainment show. Okay. Where I just want to say my opinion somewhere.
Yeah.
because I get tired of I don't want to argue on Facebook or Instagram
it's
or Twitter.
I mean, because people, when you argue on Facebook, you're arguing with, you don't even know what or who you're arguing with.
So
right?
I mean, that's the thing. I just come here to say my opinion so that if anybody wants to see it, they can go to it and see it. Like it's not something where I think, oh, I'm so important. No, it's really not. It's just because I want someplace to put my opinion other than a social media shitstorm. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, we got some guests. We finally got some stage set up a little bit different. Stage. We got a third desk over here that we will now have be able to have some guests. We have some that are being talked to at the moment. So we're going to start doing that here. Yep. And we're going to do an episode about the tobacco. Like we said, there's a topic we were talking about, intersex versus transgender and what the Bible says about both of those things, if it's any different. And, you know, we're going to keep talking about what Trump does because I think it's just going to be fast and furious. And
especially the first 6 months. I think the first 6 months are going to be lightning in a bottle.
I just want you to understand we don't look at politics as the solution.
Yeah, not at all. No.
I just want to make that clear, right? So anyway,
and we're not political people in the sense that we don't have a political agenda at all.
No.
I talk about Trump because the decisions that Trump makes are going to affect my families and my life. If
I'm not an anarchist, though.
If Kamala Harris got elected, we probably would be having the same conversations and doing the same thing. This has nothing. We don't change what we believe and where we're going based on who's president and who's the governor and who. Doesn't matter.
I want to be left alone. I want to do with my money what I want to do with. I want to be able to give my money to who I want to give. Yeah. I want to have enough left over, not just paying all this freaking taxes, and to be able to do more with my charity. Yeah. Okay. That's really where I'm at. Right. Yeah. There's I'm fortunate to be blessed with a pretty significant financial means as far as my day job goes. I've worked my tail off to get there. Yeah. But I want everybody to have that decision, and I want more opportunity for people, and I want more entrepreneurs. So
I want more growth for people, right? Like, look, I'm not anti-living life in America the way you want to live it. If you want to live a transgender life, okay, you're an American, you have the right to do so. If you want to hate a certain group of people, I can't stop you, but that's what freedom is. Freedom is, people get to live the way they want to live, regardless of what we think and feel about their feelings. Yeah, I will vocalize what I think about the way they're doing things, but I'll never be the guy in there trying to kick their door down to stop them from living the life that they choose to live. Yeah. Everybody makes a choice, and that choice has consequences, and you're going to have to deal with them currently and eternally. And unfortunately, not everybody's going to agree with me. They're just not. Like there's no wool pulled over my eyes believing that, and I don't think Reggie has it either, and I don't think any member of our family has it. But we are here because we want other people to know that if you think things are wrong, it's okay that you think they're wrong. It's okay that you don't, you live how you want to live. But if you're tuning into our show, you're going to get our opinion, right?
Yes.
And we welcome any kind of argument. Bring some context. Tell us what you disagree with. And instead of hating on us and telling us that we're, hateful and ignorant, why don't you put your facts on the table and let us put our facts on the table and attempt to have a factual conversation? If you're going to hit me, and let me be clear, I don't do emotion. Like, if you're going to come at me emotionally, you're going to get shut down, because I deal in the truth and the facts, the black and the white. Gray area is created by people who don't want to live by truth and true and false. If you're living in truth or you're living in the untruth, you're gonna know which side you're on. But when people create these gray areas, they create them because they don't want to have to take a side. And I've said this famously, and I'll say it again, and I don't say this. It's very easy to be like a left-leaning liberal. It's easy to say that everything is okay, that you can do whatever you want and it's all going to be okay. It's very easy to say that. where I stand is very difficult because I stand for a very black and white truth and truth and lies are truth and lies. There's no one being the other, disguising the other as the other. And when you interact with me, you need to understand that's what you're going to get.
Well, I'm a blunt instrument. Let me be clear. I don't prescribe to be anything other than what I am. I know, God said, "Hey, here's this guy Reggie. Yeah. He's a pretty boisterous and bold and blunt person.
Yeah,
I'm not the guy who's going to tiptoe around things. That's just not it." So,
but let me also say this: Reggie and I are both the person that if you showed up on our front porch, and your intentions were pure, and you wanted to have a discussion, and you wanted to have a civil debate, we'd invite you to our table, we'd feed you, and we'd sit down and talk.
Yeah.
Because that's who we are. I don't want anybody's life to be ended, miserable, broken. I'm full willing to sit down with you and look you eye to eye and have a conversation about my beliefs and your beliefs. And I'm full willing to, at the end, realize that we're not going to meet and we can shake hands and part ways and still be kind to each other. That's really what I want in the world is, hey, this guy believes one thing, I believe one thing, but we can still live in a world where we are respectful of each other and we care for each other and we want to move forward. And unfortunately, I feel like our world is kind of not in that space right now. So
we're anyway, R&B Talks.
We're R&B Talks. Guys, like, subscribe, argue. If you invite me out to a leg wrestling match, be careful. I'm from Kentucky. We're professionals at that.
Oy vey.
I'm Brian.
I'm Reggie.
See you later.
Bye-bye.